You're listening to the Small Business Accelerator podcast, accelerating success, one founder at a time.
With your hosts, Roger Bryant and Sarah Wilson.
We support small business owners, the little guys. We're here to help you win in today's landscape.
Join us each week as we reveal powerful strategies for small business owners that save you time and money.
Because we believe every small business owner should have access to Fortune 500 style strategies without breaking the bank.
Subscribe now on Spotify and Apple Podcasts to accelerate your small business success.
Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready to dive deep into something that maybe we've all felt at one point or another. We're tackling imposter syndrome today. And I don't just mean, that general feeling of not being good enough, right?
Right.
We're talking about the real deal, that feeling of being a fraud.
Yeah.
Even when you have all the evidence that you are competent and capable, we're going to dig into this feeling of being found out, even when you're crushing it.
Yeah, like you're waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Exactly. Like, when's that moment when everyone realizes I'm not who they think I am?
Mm-hmm.
So to guide us through this, we have an excerpt from Defeat Imposter Syndrome, Automate Your Confidence Boosters.
Okay.
And some insights from the online course, Automations Made Easy by Martini Ebonge.
Interesting.
So we're going to explore what causes imposter syndrome and, really importantly, how to combat it. And get this, we'll even delve into how the power of automation can actually help us build lasting confidence. Now, before we get too far, let me ask you, have you ever felt like maybe your successes were just dumb luck?
It really is amazing how common imposter syndrome is.
Yeah.
The guide actually features this guy, Don.
Don?
Yeah, Don was like a super high-achieving student.
Okay.
Graduated top of his class, got into, an Ivy League university, the whole 9 yards.
Wow, Ivy League. You'd think that'd be the ultimate confidence booster.
You would think, right?
Yeah.
But even he struggled with imposter syndrome. And his story is a great example of how, no matter what you achieve, imposter syndrome can still sneak up on you.
It really shows it's not just about external achievements, right?
Absolutely. It's
Yeah.
more about this inner psychological pattern, not just a fleeting feeling.
Interesting. So dig into that for me a bit. What's this pattern all about?
So the guide explains it as people with imposter syndrome constantly downplaying their accomplishments,
Oh, I know people like that.
They're always saying it was luck or timing,
Right.
always seeking validation from others. And deep down, there's this fear of being exposed as a phony.
That constant fear of being found out, that's got to be exhausting. But, okay, if it's a psychological pattern, are some people just, more prone to it than others?
Well, research shows that, get this, about 70% of people experience imposter syndrome at some point in their lives.
70%.
It's a huge number. And certain groups, like women and minorities, seem to experience it even more often, probably because of all those extra societal pressures and expectations they face.
So it's not just in our heads then, there's like a real societal element too.
For sure. With all that pressure to be the best, achieve.
Right. Always striving for more.
But, the guide also digs into some of the causes that are more, internal.
Okay, so like what kind of things are we talking about there?
Or early family dynamics can play a role. Imagine growing up being constantly praised for being the smart one.
Oh, you're so smart.
Exactly. It can lead to this fear of not living up to that label.
So it's almost setting you up to feel inadequate later on.
Yeah, kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Makes sense.
And then you've got personality traits like perfectionism.
The perfectionism trap.
Huge breeding ground for imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
If you're always setting impossible standards for yourself.
You're never going to feel good enough.
Exactly.
So even something that sounds positive, like praising intelligence, can end up backfiring.
It can, if it makes you afraid of not being good enough. That inner critic can be pretty brutal.
No kidding. And I'm guessing pre-existing mental health conditions don't help either.
Definitely not. Anxiety, depression, those can make someone much more susceptible to imposter syndrome.
So this is more than just feeling a bit insecure sometimes, huh?
It really is. But the interesting thing is, it's not just about how you feel. Imposter syndrome has real consequences.
Okay, so let's talk about that. How does this actually play out in people's lives?
Take Gerald, for example. He was this award-winning investigative journalist, worked for a top newspaper. You'd think he'd be brimming with confidence, right?
Sounds like he'd have every reason to be.
You'd think so. But the guide explains how he was always attributing his success to just being in the right place at the right time.
Downplaying all his hard work and talent.
Totally. And that's how imposter syndrome can really hold you back,
Yeah.
Makes it harder to go for promotions, or even just seek out new opportunities.
It's not just an in-your-head thing, then. It has a real impact.
A very real impact. And it could definitely affect your mental health, too.
In what way?
Well, the guide points out that it can make existing anxiety and stress worse,
Makes sense.
and even contribute to depression, especially for people from marginalized groups who are already facing those societal pressures.
Wow.
Oh.
Okay. This is definitely more serious than I think a lot of people realize.
It is. But the good news is, the guide also outlines some incredible strategies for breaking free from this.
I'm all ears. What can we do?
Well, first and foremost, the guide emphasizes the importance of seeking professional help.
Okay.
A therapist can really help you dig deep and uncover, the root causes of your imposter syndrome. And they can give you the tools to challenge those negative thoughts.
Yeah, therapy can be so powerful. But what if someone's not ready for that step yet?
That's totally understandable.
Are there things people can do on their own to start tackling this?
Absolutely. The guide has a whole bunch of practical self-help strategies you can try.
Like what?
One of the first things is just becoming aware of those imposter thoughts.
Okay.
They call it identifying imposter thoughts. And it's basically about shining a light on those negative voices in your head.
So it's like acknowledging them, saying, hey, I hear you.
Exactly. It's like calling them out.
Okay.
And once you can recognize them, you can start to challenge them.
Makes sense. So what's next?
Building a support network is huge.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Having people in your corner who believe in you, who can offer a different perspective when you're stuck in that negative self-talk spiral.
Friends, family, mentors, maybe even a support group.
Exactly.
It's so important to have those people who remind you of your strengths when you can't see them yourself.
Right. And then there's the whole idea of challenging those negative beliefs head on.
Okay, how do we do that?
The guide suggests techniques like cognitive reframing.
Oh, I've heard of that.
It's about consciously replacing those negative thoughts with more positive, realistic ones.
Can you give me an example of that?
Sure. So let's say you're thinking, I'm going to totally bomb this presentation.
Been there.
A cognitive reframe might be, I've prepared really well, and I'm capable of giving a good presentation.
Okay.
Even if a few things don't go perfectly, it doesn't mean I'm a failure. It's about shifting your perspective.
So it's about acknowledging that things might not always go perfectly, but that doesn't mean you're not good enough.
Exactly. And there's this other thing the guide mentions, self-compassion letters.
Self-compassion letters.
Yeah, it might sound a bit cheesy,
Okay.
but it's about writing a letter to yourself
Yeah.
from a place of kindness,
Oh, interesting.
acknowledging your struggles, and reminding yourself of your strengths.
I like that, like giving yourself a pep talk from your best friend.
Exactly. And don't forget to celebrate your achievements,
Yes.
even the small ones. It helps build that self-belief muscle.
It's like giving yourself permission to be proud of what you've done instead of brushing it off.
Absolutely. And embracing a growth mindset is huge.
Okay.
It's about seeing challenges as opportunities to learn and viewing setbacks as temporary bumps in the road.
So moving away from that fixed mindset where you think your abilities are set in stone to a growth mindset where you see the potential for learning and improvement.
Exactly.
Love that. But it's all about taking action, right?
Right. You can just think about it. You got to do it.
The more you act on these strategies, the more confident you become.
Exactly.
Now, the guide talks about this concept of automating confidence boosters. That sounds super intriguing. What does that even mean?
It's basically about making those confidence-boosting practices part of your daily routine,
Okay.
almost like building positive habits for your mind so they become automatic.
Like brushing your teeth for your confidence. I love that analogy. But how do we actually automate these practices?
Well, there are a few ways.
Give me some examples.
So let's say you're working on positive self-talk. Instead of just relying on willpower to remember those affirmations,
Right.
you could set reminders on your phone. Little notifications throughout the day that say things like, you've got this, or remember how awesome you are.
Oh, I love that. Like having a virtual cheerleader in your pocket.
Exactly.
What about visualization? How can we automate that?
For visualization, you could create a vision board.
Oh, yeah, with pictures and quotes.
Exactly. Things that represent your goals.
Okay.
And then put it somewhere you'll see it every day.
Right.
That visual reminder can be really powerful.
So instead of just thinking about your goals, you're making them visual, tangible. I love that.
And remember that gratitude practice we talked about?
A gratitude journal.
You can automate that too. Set a daily reminder to write in it. Or even use one of those voice-activated note-taking apps to jot down those grateful moments as they happen.
It's amazing how technology can actually support our well-being And make building confidence more manageable.
It is. It's all about working smarter, not harder, just like Martin Ebonge's course teaches.
Automation's made easy.
Yep. And even though it's mainly about automating tasks in your work and personal life, those principles can definitely apply to building confidence too.
So by automating certain tasks, we free up time and mental energy to focus on the things that really matter.
Exactly. Things like our well-being and personal growth.
And when you start seeing the benefits of automation in other areas of your life, that sense of accomplishment and control can spill over into how you view yourself.
It totally can.
I love how it all connects. It's like taking control of your life, building those positive habits, and using technology to your advantage.
Absolutely. And you know what's really cool? The guide is full of inspiring case studies of people who've actually overcome imposter syndrome.
Oh, I love a good success story. Tell me more about these case studies. What kind of people are we talking about? Oh, I love a good success story. Tell me more about these case studies. What kind of people are we talking about?
Well, you know, we already talked about Don, that Ivy League student
Right, Don.
who was convinced everyone was going to figure out he wasn't as smart as they thought.
Even with, like, top-notch grades.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But you know what? Through therapy, he learned to really focus on his skills and accomplishments instead of always worrying about those what-if fears.
So he kind of shifted his focus.
He did. He started realizing that even if he did hit some bumps in the road, you know, which we all do, it didn't mean he wasn't capable or worthy.
So it was about building that resilience
Okay.
and recognizing that setbacks are part of the process, right?
Exactly. And then, remember Gerald?
The journalist.
Yeah, the award-winning journalist.
Always downplaying his success.
Right. He always felt like he was just lucky, not actually talented.
That's such a classic imposter syndrome move.
It is. It's almost like people are afraid to own their accomplishments.
Yeah, like they don't deserve the credit.
Right. But for Gerald, therapy really helped him take a good look at those negative thoughts.
So he could challenge them, basically.
He started to see his success as the result of his hard work and skills, not just random luck.
And did he come up with strategies for dealing with those, moments when he felt like he messed up?
He did, actually. He learned to seek feedback from his mentors and peers instead of automatically beating himself up.
That's so important, having a supportive network and a plan in place.
Right. So you don't spiral.
It makes a huge difference. Okay, so we got these great examples. But I'm sure there's no one-size-fits-all solution to imposter syndrome, right?
Of course not. It's about finding what works for you.
Like building your own little confidence toolkit.
Exactly. And speaking of tools, let's bring it back to automation.
Right, we were talking about how those principles can help us build confidence.
Remember Martin Ebonge's course, Automation's Made Easy? It's really about streamlining things, making things easier in your life.
Okay.
And those same ideas can totally apply to building confidence.
So it's about creating systems and habits that kind of support us, even when we're not actively trying.
Exactly. It takes some of the pressure off.
Give me an example.
Let's say you're working on that positive self-talk. Instead of trying to remember affirmations all the time, you could set up those reminders on your phone.
Like a little nudge throughout the day.
Exactly. Little messages that pop up and say, hey, you're doing great. Or remember how far you've come.
Oh, I love that.
And for visualization, remember we talked about vision boards?
Yeah, those are cool.
Having those images that represent your goals and dreams right there where you can see them every day can really help.
It's like a visual representation of your future self, right?
It is. And then there's that gratitude practice we were talking about.
Writing down what we're grateful for.
Right. You can even use a voice-activated note-taking app for that.
So you can just say it out loud as it comes to you.
Exactly. Makes it so much easier to stick with it.
There are so many cool ways to use technology to make this whole process easier.
There are. And you know what the best part is?
What?
As you start automating these confidence-building practices, you actually free up more mental energy.
You're not so focused on remembering to do everything.
Exactly. You're less stressed, which helps boost your confidence even more.
It's like this amazing cycle.
It is. And as you automate other areas of your life too,
Like what kinds of things?
managing emails, scheduling appointments, all that stuff,
Right.
you get this feeling of being in control.
Which then makes you feel more confident.
Exactly. It all ties together.
This has been such an eye-opening conversation. I mean, we've talked about what imposter syndrome is, the impact it has, and all these powerful strategies to fight back.
And we've learned how automation can be a huge part of that journey.
Absolutely. So as we wrap things up here, we want to leave you with this question. What's one small step you can take today to challenge that inner imposter? What can you do to start building that unshakable confidence?
It could be anything. Writing that self-compassion letter, setting a reminder for those positive affirmations, maybe even checking out that Automations Made Easy course. The point is, you have the power to create a life that feels authentic and confident. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep diving. Thanks for tuning in to the Small Business Accelerator podcast.
We really hope today's strategies help you grow your business without breaking the bank.
Don't forget to check the show notes for links to resources we've handpicked for small business success.
If you found value in today's episode, it would make our day if you subscribed to the podcast and left us a review.
You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
And stay tuned for our next episode. Next time, we'll reveal yet another game-changing strategy that's revolutionizing how small businesses on a shoestring budget take on giant corporations and accelerate their success.
Until then, keep accelerating your success.
This is Sarah Wilson.
And Roger Bryant, signing off.